All right, this podcast is for CNT120. We're looking at our network design lab, and we're looking at the part of our lab where we are creating our network diagrams. So, if I look at my network design lab, I'm going to scroll down through. The first part talks about the scenario, the different offices and connections in and so forth. And then when we get to actually starting our plan, part one says about doing the network diagram. Now, in reality, some of you probably have already done a bunch of part two where you picked out your equipment and you started your spreadsheet. That's fine. This podcast is showing you now how do we start showing our plan for customer or for our IT team. How do we show what our network looks like in some sort of map version? So we're going to create a network diagram. The other podcast I have for you shows you how to create it using Dia. That is a diagram editing program that I've been using for years. That's a good little program to use. But this one's going to focus on doing the same thing using an application that links up with Google Drive. So I'm going to come over here. And if I look at my D2L page, I have podcasts here. This is what we're looking at right now. But right below that, I have network diagram applications. Here's the Dia diagram editor. The one podcast up here talks about using Dia. The one you're listening to now, this one, shows how to do this network diagram with Drawio. So I'll use this link to open the program. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to log into my hack. Open my Google Apps, open my Google Drive, go into my Google Drive, make sure I'm all logged in, I open my 120 folder and all that jazz, and when I create my draw.io diagram, I can have it saved right to this Google Drive folder. So now that I'm all logged in and all that jazz, if I open this draw.io program application, usually on startup, I have the option to create a new diagram and start using or sending it to my Google Drive. So I will do that. I'll create a new diagram. I'm just going to leave a blank diagram at this point because I'll put in what I want, and I'll do something like CNT120 network design lab or something of that nature. And I'll say create. And right after I create it, I'm going to come right up to the top up here and do the option where I do a file and save or move this to or make sure it's located where I want. I'll do a file, move, and I'll pick my folder. I'm going to put this in the 120 folder. Oops, let me go back here again. I'll go to Google Drive. I'll select my 120 folder. There it is. I'll select that. Now it's going to move it into my 120 folder. So if I go look at my Google Drive, back to my drive, 120, there is my diagram right there. So this is linking up with it. All right, what we want to draw now is what our network is going to look like. This is very important in IT to communicate your idea of, IP scheme, VLANs, Active Directory, what computers are connected where, all that jazz. So there's lots of information I can communicate with a diagram. And what I'm roughly trying to do is connect up. Let me scroll to the end of our lab. This is roughly within the test out lab environment right now. We're kind of replicating this. We're going to have our router connected to our switch, connected to our workstations out here. That's roughly what we're going to replicate with our network diagram. So over here, there's all kinds of general shapes. I'm going to close that up. And I have already loaded a few other shapes that I need. Yours probably will not have this yet. So if you go under more shapes, you can browse through the different options you can collect. And under networking, I open up the Cisco network and rack. These are some of the ones I needed. I clicked those check boxes, said remember. When I applied that, they added these extra folders of icons for me. Most of the network icons I need are going to be located in these Cisco folders. The Cisco icons are kind of the default industry standard. Most people use them or recognize them, so it's a good place to start. On this one, I'm going to start right off with my router because that's the part that's actually connected to the internet. So in here, I will open up the router folder, and I will find a basic router shape, drag it out here onto my screen. And there I have my router. If I look at my network diagram, I'm going to have my switch, so I will close up that icon area and open up my switch icons and come in here and just create my basic, or look for my basic switch icon. I think there it is. There's my workgroup switch. Okay. And now I can start connecting things. And what I should be able to do is literally connect like so, just kind of drag a line and connect it. And I can also start putting in here my computers and other things. So I'm literally just going to progress through this adding in, I'm trying to build this router to switch to workstation environment in my network diagram. That's what I'm trying to do. So I will continue looking for my shapes to put them on there, or I can do a search up here for something like computer and see what it gives me for my icons, grab those. Ooh, I actually do need my little cloud symbol. I can use that for my internet, my ISP, if you will. So I will connect this guy up to here, up to the ISP, and I'll put a label in him after a bit. And maybe I want to put in my access point because I need my wireless. So I'll do access point, see what it gives me. There's the basic symbol for an access point. So I'll connect my access point to my switch, and I'm just going to start building my network this way. And I eventually want to start showing, I am going to need to start putting labels on my routers, model numbers and those sorts of things. And I do want to start showing also the computers connected in. So I am going to need to put some computers on and labels on them indicating, you know, there's 2 in this office, there's 4 in this office, or whatever. Because we need to represent all those in some fashion on here. Now, I will give you a heads up, I can put one icon on here and put a label on it saying office 1 and 2, quantity of 4 computers. I can do that. There's not a problem with that. I have no problem doing that. So that's what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to take a pause here for a second. I'm going to add a couple things to my map and come back so you don't have to sit here and watch me do all of it. And then I'll give you a couple other tips. Okay, just so you didn't have to sit there and watch me type a couple things on here. I just paused it. All I did was I came in here and added a couple titles on here and added my computer icon. That's all I really did. So once you get your basic shape on, you will want to go in and add in some things like this. Add your model numbers in. If you're doing more than one quantity of something, indicate the quantity. And all I need to do is next to that icon, I put a computer icon here, just double click. You'll get a link for text, and I can start typing in desktop, PCs, and I can say under here Office 1 and 2, quantity of 4, or something of that nature. And actually when I'm done, I just hit enter, and I can drag this little label up next to it. If I want to change the formatting of the text, I have options over here to do that. I can increase the size, or I can make it bold, or whatever the heck I want to do with it. You know, center, justify, all that happy jazz. But I want to start labeling what all this stuff is. And like I said before, if you're using one icon to represent multiple, that's fine. Just put a label below it. And I do want to represent all the areas of my plan. I do want to represent Office 1, 2, IT admin, exec, lobby, support, all that. And I can just do one computer icon to represent, you know, like 2 offices or something like that. Just make sure below it you're putting a label indicating what it is. So there's roughly what I'm doing to get my network diagram together. And like I showed you in the beginning, this is saving automatically to my Google Drive. I'm good to go. So continue to add to this, you know, your devices and labels and make it pretty and neat. Maybe color code some lines, double click on the line. If you want to change the color of it, I can come in here and adjust the color of it and that sort of thing. I change the color of that guy. Actually, it was my text label. Let me get that out of there. Okay. But if I want to come in here and adjust any of the quantity or the lines or those sorts of things, I can adjust that, all that kind of good stuff. But that's what I'm doing for my network diagram using Drawio.